The first segment of the Hot 7 Nightly News is brought to you by Flow.
Leading the way in election coverage. Hot 7 TV. Election Central.
Tonight, the Sarat community is reeling from the heinous killing of a local shop owner. The Royal St. Lucia Police Force announces an immediate ban on island-wide motorcades following pandemonium over the weekend. And the opposition St. Lucia Labour Party clears the air on statements made by the political leader that King has joined the SLP. The details of these stories and more coming up.
This is the Hot 7 Nightly News with Lovely St. Amy Joseph.
Good night. It is Monday, the 12th of July, 2021. Welcome to the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. I'm Lovely St. Amy Joseph. Thank you for joining us. Orville Purnell, a Jamaican national who escaped lawful custody from the Babonneau police station, has been captured by Jamaican law enforcement officials in Portmore, Jamaica. Purnell was remanded in custody following a court hearing on a murder charge for causing the death of Cleus Alfred on the 25th of August 2020 at Truya Grosley. A warrant of arrest in the first instance was issued following his escape, and relevant authorities in neighboring territories and Jamaica were alerted by local police. Since his capture, local officials have initiated the process of negotiating his extradition to St. Lucia to answer to the charges against him. St. Lucia has recorded yet another homicide. On Friday night, a shop owner from Sarat was shot multiple times while perpetrators robbed his establishment. The deceased Robertson Chitoli has been described by his community as a hardworking and respectable individual.
35-year-old Robertson Chitoli is St. Lucia's latest homicide victim. On Friday evening, gun-toting bandits descended on Chitoli's business place in Sarat and shot him multiple times. By the account of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force, it is believed that two unknown individuals robbed Chitoli and in the process fatally wounded him. Reports are that his partner was at the shop when the incident transpired. However, when Hot 7 News visited the community, she was not at home. Our news team spoke with a young resident who says he was at home on Friday evening when he heard multiple gunshots.
I only heard the song of fire, of gunshots fire alone. That's the only thing. I never saw nothing. I never saw who did it, nothing. So.
About how many gunshots did you hear?
Exactly 9.
He says Chitoli was one of the older men in the community who many loved and respected and youth admired because of his work ethic. The young man says his death has sent shockwaves in the community. Another resident echoed the same sentiments, saying that the businessman was a staple in the community of Sarat.
Yeah, man, he was a good guy. He was there for all of us. Yeah, when we done nothing, he always giving us something. Yeah, man, checking on everybody. Even though he always giving us good jokes, make us laugh, we vex. He make us forget about them kind of things. Jokes is not nothing, you check? Always a good guy, always good advice. Yeah.
He says while he understands that many are frustrated with the current hardships brought on by COVID-19, this is no excuse to rob and kill. He says if such mentalities persist, then St. Lucia will find itself in a constant loop of crime and violence. In the same breath, he has asked that the government step in and afford the youth more opportunities. Reporting from the Sarat community for Hot 7 News, I am Genevieve Gonzalez.
A sea of red and a sea of yellow descended on almost every constituency over the weekend. Election campaigning is now in full swing, and frenzied crowds of people transformed the usually quiet Sunday streets into a bacchanal atmosphere. The scenes, all reminiscent of carnival parades, have drawn action by the Royal St. Lucia Police Force. A meeting was held at the office of the Commissioner of Police today, Monday, the 12th of July, with representatives of the three political parties: National Green Party, Opposition St. Lucia Labour Party, and the ruling United Workers Party. During the meeting, discussions were held regarding the occurrences at the various political activities on Sunday, the 11th of July, where clear violations of the agreed campaign protocols as set out by the Ministry of Health during a presentation to the political parties and general COVID-19 protocols were noted. The representatives proposed and agreed to a complete ban of all island-wide motorcades with immediate effect. All agreed to single constituency motorcades with no crossing over into other constituencies. Failure to adhere to the guidelines may result in revocation of permits for future activities. The police force says a review will be conducted following this weekend's scheduled activities. Meanwhile, the island's Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Sharon Belmar George, noted with grave concern the flouting of COVID-19 health and safety protocols over the weekend during the height of election campaigning. St. Lucia is in the throes of election fever, and many people are throwing caution to the wind. In the excitement to outdo each other and show their strength in numbers, the two political parties are turning out massive crowds. Over the weekend, scores of people were engaged in election campaigning, and in almost every constituency, the motorcades and processions mirrored carnival parades. The island's Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Sharon Belmar George, laments the behaviors on display in the many recordings of the weekend's activities. She says the sobering fact is that these dangerous practices are taking place when only 12% of the population is fully vaccinated against COVID-19.
It is of grave concern that we note mass crowd activities with no physical distancing, masks not worn or worn inappropriately. The public is reminded that we are still managing a pandemic with over 100 active cases in country with low vaccination coverage. This puts us at high risk for in-country transmission due to large activities without adherence to public health measures.
Organizers of campaign events are reminded to ensure the necessary authorization is granted from the Royal St. Lucia Police Force. Dr. Belmar George stresses that all approved activities must be managed as per protocols. She also appeals to citizens to take a measure of personal responsibility for their health and safety.
The Ministry of Health appeals to the public to prioritize health and safety at this time and to take all measures to prevent this disease. Vaccination remains the most effective public health measure in managing infectious diseases.
The Ministry of Health and Wellness continues to advise the public to remain vigilant as the risk of the introduction of COVID-19 variants remains high. It is necessary to adhere to the protocols that include regular hand washing, use of a face mask in public, avoiding crowds, sanitizing frequently touched surfaces, and keeping away from people if experiencing respiratory symptoms, and seeking immediate care. You're watching the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. Stay with us. Still to come, Stephenson King denounces talk that he has joined the SLP during a Monday press conference. The SLP clears the air on Philip J. Pierre's comments, and St. Lucia now has 130 active cases of COVID-19. That and more after the break.
The first segment of the Hot 7 Nightly News was brought to you by Flow.